Hello, am I audible? I
Yes,
think
please.
yes.
Yes,
Thank you so much for having me. This morning we are going to learn together about the book of Patriot and Prophet, chapter 53, the early judges. After the Israelites settled in Canaan and they became too comfortable with the land they have already taken, and they stopped fighting to remove the remaining Canaanites because they were happy with what they had. And instead of fully following God's command to drive the Canaanites out, they make deal with them. This disobedience means that the condition for receiving the land completely was never met. God has warned the people from the time of Moses not to follow the Canaanites' ways of life. He told them to destroy the Canaanite idols and worship only God. And God promised that if the Israelites obey, he would help them defeat even a stronger nations and give them a large territory. However, the people choose the easy life. They mixed with the local people, married them, and slowly started to worship other gods. Because of this, they lost God's protection and strength. Instead of conquering their enemies as God has planned, the Israelites were often attacked and oppressed by neighboring nations like the Mesopotamian, Moabite, Philistine, and especially the Midianites. The Midianites, along with others desert tribes, raided Israel, stole their harvest, and forced the people to leave their home. This terrible oppression lasted for 7 years. Despite their repeated sin, God still cared for his people. When the Israelites repented for their disobedience and cried out for help, God raised up leaders called judges. These judges, such as Othniel, Shamgar, Ehud, Deborah, and Barak, were chosen by God to save the people from their enemies. Each time a judge delivered Israel, the people experienced relief and victory. However, after the judge died, the people would often return to their old sinful way, and the circle of disobedience, punishment, and deliverance continues. Gideon was the son of Joash from the tribe of Manasseh. His family was not famous for leadership, but they were known for courage and honesty. While he was busy thrashing wheat in secret because he has hidden some grain, Gideon worried about how badly the Midianites were oppressing Israel. Then the angel of the Lord suddenly appeared to him and said, Jehovah is with thee, thou mighty man of valor. Although Gideon was surprised and doubtful, asking why, if God was with them, they were still suffering. The angel assured him, saying, Go in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel from the hand of the Midianites. One thing proved that this was really God speaking. Gideon invited the angels to stay in his case. He quickly prepared a small offering for a kid and unleavened cake from this little food supply. The angel told him to place the offering on the rock and pour broth over it. When Gideon obeyed, the angel touched the food with his staff, and a flame bursted from the rock and completely burned the offering. Then the angel disappeared. At that time, Gideon's father, Joash, has built a large altar to the pagan gods Baal in their town, Ophrah. God commanded Gideon to destroy this altar and to build one for Jehovah and its place. Showing a clear break with idolatry, Gideon carried out this task secretly with his servant. When the townspeople discovered that this has happened, they became very angry. But Joash defended his son, saying that if Baal was truly God, he should be able to protect his altar. After this event, Gideon began gathering an army from his own tribe and neighboring tribes like Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali. However, God warned Gideon that his army was too large. A big army might make the people boast that they won by their own strength instead of trusting God. To reduce the number of soldiers, God told Gideon to send home everyone who was afraid. According to the law, before battle, soldiers were allowed to return home if they were busy with important personal matter or were too scared. Gideon watched his men as the water source. Some quickly drank water with their hand, while most knelt down to drink. Only 300 men took the water in ways that showed they were alert and ready for battle. These 300 brave and faithful soldiers was the one God chose. With his small force, Gideon plans a surprise attack. He divided 300 men into three groups, giving each man a trumpet and hiding a torch inside an earthen pitcher. At night, on Gideon's signal, they surrounded the enemy camp. When the signal came, they broke their pitchers to reveal their torch, blew their trumpets, and shouted, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon." The sudden noise and light caused panic among the Midianites, confused and terrified. The enemy soldiers began fighting each other, and soon they were fleeing. Gideon and his men chased them down, and God gave Israel a great victory over the Midianites. This story shows how God can use even humble and doubtful person like Gideon to bring about amazing victories as long as they trust in him and obey his command. Gideon, the son of Joash from a humble family in the tribe of Manasseh, was chosen by God to save Israel from the Midianites. At first, while he was secretly threshing wheat, an angel appeared and called him mighty man of valor. So later, God told Gideon to destroy the altar of pagan god, and he did. And God was with him. And the night that they fought against the Midianite, each soldier has a trumpet as well as a torch hidden in the pitcher. And at the right moment, they surrounded enemy camp, and with a loud trumpet blast and flashing torch, they shouted that the sword of the Lord and Gideon, and they conquer. As news of the victory spread, many Israelites who has been sent home joined in the pursuit of the fleeing enemy. And Gideon sent messenger to the tribe of Ephraim to help stop the Midianites from escaping across the Jordan River. And Gideon himself chased down the enemy leaders, Zabah and Zalmunna, and captured them, and scattering the Midianites' force completely. In this battle, about 120,000 Midianites were killed, and their powers were broken, so they could never ever again wage wars against Israel. People all over learned that God has fought for Israel once more, and neighboring nations were terrified by how a small, humble group has defeated such a powerful enemy. Despite his great victory, Gideon later faced criticism. When he returned, the tribe of Ephraim was upset that they have not been called to battle. They even accused Gideon for not including them. Gideon answered modestly, comparing his action to the simple task of gathering grapes. And his humble reply calmed the anger of Ephraimite. After the victory, the people of Israel wanted Gideon to become their king, but he refused, saying that the Lord was their true ruler. However, Gideon later made a serious mistake, believing he has been chosen to lead not just in battle but also in worship. He created a special religious garment and effort from the gold he received as a spoil of war. Instead of guiding the people to follow God, this act led many of them, including members of his own family, to begin worshipping idols. His error became a trap that led the people away from God. The story of Gideon teaches several important lessons. After Abimelech died, Israel was briefly ruled by judges who feared the Lord, and for a time, idolatry was kept in check. However, the people soon returned to the way of the neighboring heathen nations. In the northern tribe, people began to worship the god of Syria and Sidon. In the southwest, they followed the idols of the Philistine, and in the east, the god of Moab and Ammon turned their hearts away from the true God. Because of this apostasy, turning away from gods to follow other gods, the people face punishment. The Ammonites overpowered the eastern tribe and after crossing the Jordan River, invade Judah and Ephraim. At the same time, the Philistines came up from the coastal plain, burning and pillaging the land. It seemed as if Israel was completely abandoned to the power of this relentless enemy. In in their distress, the people cry out to the Lord, saying, "We have sinned against you by forsaking our gods and serving Baal." However, their sorrow was so shallow, they were upset about the hardship they suffered, but not truly sorry for having dishonored God. True repentance means turning away from evil, not just feeling sad for the trouble caused. God answered their cries through a prophet. The prophet reminded them of all the time God has saved them from Egypt and from various enemies like the Ammonite, Philistine, Zidonians, Amalekites, and Moabite. Despite this rescue, they have still turned to other gods. Because of this, God declared that He would no longer rescue them. He told them to cry out to the God they have chosen and let those gods help them in their trouble. This harsh watch not only warned them about immediate punishment, but also pointed to the final day of judgment. That time, everyone who rejects God's mercy and choose worldly pleasure over serving Him would have to give an account for their life. They have become distracted by silly amusement, pride in their appearance, and overindulgence, losing sight of the value of God's serving God. In the end, they would have to face the consequences of their choices. The Lord said that those who ignore his counsel and did not fear him would eventually suffer, while those who listened to him would live safely. When the Israelites finally humbled themselves and put away their strange gods, God's heart, God's heart was moved with love for them and he began to work for their deliverance again. God raised up a new deliverer, Japhet, the Gileadite, who fought against the Ammonites and broke their powers. However, after 18 years of suffering under enemy oppression, the people soon fell back into the old sinful way. God then allowed the Philistines, who had once been friendly with Israel, to oppress them. Because the people has mixed with their idolater so much that they became bitter enemies. The passage also reminded us that Christians can fall into the same trap by trying to fit in with the world and its value. True friendship with the world is dangerous because it can lead us away from God. Jesus warned that the world hated him because before it hated his followers. In the end, our only safe path is to trust in God completely and follow his guidance. This chapter showed that because of the Israelites did not fully obey God and kept mixing with the Canaanite, they lost his protection. This led to a circle of oppression by enemies and the need for God to raise up judges to save them temporarily. The story serves as a reminder of how important it is to follow God's command and stay true to him. Even someone who feels unworthy, like Gideon's, can be used by God if you and I trust God completely. And true strength comes from obeying God, not for numbers and human pride, as the Gideon led the army. With 300 only, they can win the battles. And the choice of leaders also influence future generation for better or for worse. So we need to pray for our leaders so that they may focus in their vision so that all of us will be saved. And thank you so much for hearing me. As we continue to ponder upon this, may we put God first so that God will guide each one of our thoughts and our action. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother, could you please close with a prayer too?
Kind and merciful Father, which are in heaven, thank you so much for having us this morning and praying together as a family. Lord, continue to be with us as we prepare ourselves to come closer to the Sabbath hours. May our prepare our mind, and may we continue to commune with you and enjoy the Sabbath. Thank you so much for the privilege that you give us one after another to know that you are the loving God. And may we also cling on your mercy and love so that we may able to work according to thy will. These few mercy in Jesus' precious name.